Good morning. For some reason, in the latest broadcast of Watchtower, they've come up with a very strange interpretation of the book of Obadiah. So here's a little clip. Have a look and see what you think.
Jehovah sent Obadiah to reassure them that he had not abandoned them and that he was not the cause of Edom's actions. To Jehovah, the Israelites deserve discipline, but not injustice. They deserve correction, but not cruelty.
And Jehovah tells the Israelites in verses 19 to 21 that they are not only going to come back and expand their territory, but that the kingship would become Jehovah's. He gives them something to focus on during their discipline, the future kingdom under the Messiah.
Isn't that beautiful? So, what do you think this reveals about Jehovah's justice and the way he exercises his sovereignty?
For one thing, it shows that Jehovah is never cruel or unfeeling. And he's never the source of injustice. In fact, he hates it. He condemned the Edomites for how they treated Israel. But doesn't it also reveal something about how Jehovah treats those he disciplines?
Yes. Jehovah never mistreats or turns his back on wrongdoers, even unrepentant ones. He is still acutely interested in them.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So it seems that they are trying to say that Jehovah will discipline people, but he's not cruel with it. It gives hope and so on. To a certain extent, that's true. But what are they trying to say here? Are they trying to say to governments, look, we discipline people, but we're never cruel with it. We now talk to those we've disfellowshipped. I'm not sure. If you have any views on that, I'd be grateful to know in the comments. But this book of Obadiah is a condemnation of the nation of Edom. In verse 2, because there's only one chapter, behold, I will make you small among the nations, that's Edom. You will be despised exceedingly. The pride of your heart has deceived you, you dweller in the refuges of the rock. And in the Amplified Bible, it says that that's Petra. Now here's a little picture of Petra. This is a picture of Petra, a tomb built by the Nabateans. They were descendants of Ishmael, that was Abraham's eldest son, but they came after the Edomites, about a couple of 100 years afterwards. But it just gives you some idea of the territory that the Edomites were living in. Oh, and by the way, the Nabateans had the most wonderful water collection system, which has absolutely nothing to do with this video, but is very, very interesting. And I'll leave a link below. So the photograph gives you some idea of where the Edomites were living, high in the mountains with crevices and so on. So, but it says in verse 4 of Obadiah, though you mount on high as the eagle, and though you set your nest among the stars, I will bring you down from there, said the Lord. But why? Why would the Lord want to bring them down? Because the Edomites were brothers of Jacob. They were twin brothers, actually, descendants. In verse 10, it says, for the violence that you did against your brother Jacob, shame shall cover you, and you will be cut off forever. What had they done? Well, we know from the book of Numbers that when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt, they asked the Edomites, could they pass through the land, and they would pay for any water that they used. The Edomites refused, so the Israelites had to go all the way round. Now, it seemed that the Lord let that go, so why does he now want to bring them down? Well, from verse 12 onwards, there's a lot of things that the Edomites shouldn't have done, and we're now looking at the time when the Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem in 587. Watchtower has it at 607, of course. It says here that the Edomites should not have gloated over their brother's day, the day when his misfortune came and he was made a stranger. You should not have rejoiced over the sons of Judah in the day of their ruin. And so it goes on. You should not have entered the gate of Jerusalem to try to plunder it after the Babylonians had been there. And verse 14, you should not have stood at the crossway to cut off those of Judah who escaped. So those who were escaping from the Babylonians were then caught by the Edomites and handed over. So it says in verse 15, as you have done, it will be done to you. So I think the lesson we can learn here, that if we are cruel, if we are nasty, then that sort of treatment will come back upon us. So all I can think, Watchtower, is please, you must look at the cruelties that you have done to the members of your organisation. I mean, there's a long list, but I think the worst of all was those who had been abused by elders or ministerial servants. They came telling you these stories, and you said, we don't have 2 witnesses, you mustn't tell anybody about this, you must keep quiet. That was the cruelest thing of all, because the way to survive abuse is to talk about it, to get it out, and to do something about it. You wouldn't even let them go to the police. You need to repent of these things. You can't just cover it up and say, oh, that was somebody else. There are so many other things you have done. The secret rules which were against the justice that Jehovah God had given us. He gave us very, very good rules of justice. You worked out your own. So look at the book of Obadiah for what it really says, which is that if whatever you do to other people, it will come back on your own head. Watchtower, please take notice of this. There is hope, of course. It talks about, at the very end, that deliverers shall go up to Mount Zion to rule and to judge Mount Esau, and the kingdom and the kingship shall be the Lord's. So we have better times to come, but there is a judgment involved, and we need to make sure that we are on the right side of that judgment. So, Watchtower, please take notice of what Obadiah is really saying. Thank you so much for watching this morning. God bless you all.